the MS Michigan Man 64 podcast. My name is Brian Wallace, and I am the MS Michigan Man 64. The MS Michigan Man 64 podcast is about chronic disease awareness. I have had multiple sclerosis for the last 27 years. It's an invisible chronic disease that I've been battling for half of my life. I want to share with you what it is like living with the chronic disease from my experiences and the experiences of other chronic disease warriors. We can fight to have a voice to those that want to listen. Together, we can motivate and educate. Hi, welcome back to the MS Michigan Man 64 podcast, where I'm trying to spread awareness about what it is like living with a chronic disease. I've been living with multiple sclerosis for the last 27 years. If you want to join me on my journey, please hit the like and subscribe button to the podcast. Today, I am sitting down with an MSer I met online a couple months ago. Melissa was diagnosed with her MS last year, and she wanted to come on just to help me spread awareness about what it's like living with a chronic disease. Please welcome to the podcast, Melissa. How you doing today, Melissa?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I really appreciate you having this format, and I appreciate everybody that likes and subscribe and is willing to help share MS awareness.
Oh, I appreciate you, Melissa. So, Melissa, you got diagnosed last year. Can you kind of just take us through what you were going through, what kind of symptoms you were going through, and what caused the red flag to go to the hospital to try to get it figured out?
Yeah, so I had worked long-term care as a CNA and as a medication aide, which is nursing home for people who don't know, lifting, just doing daily care. And so in October, November, I was having a little bit of trouble with my right arm and shoulder, and I started going to the chiropractor. Uh, and usually I could see him once or twice and I was good. And I had a few times and I was still having some sensation and a little bit of pain. And so I just kind of iced it and chalked it up to nothing. And fast forward to like got through the holidays, fast forward to March. And I went to get up one morning and I couldn't stand. Like I couldn't fucking stand. I thought I was having a stroke.
Yeah.
And so I called my husband, called the doctor, got rushed to the doctor, and from then on, my life changed, and I never knew how much it would change.
Yeah.
I went to a major city hospital, uh, went through the spinal tap, well, another set of MRIs, because they did MRIs here and did like ruled out the stroke and some things before they sent me on to the city. And at the time, the city hospital was full. So it was like a whole tricky thing of like you couldn't be transferred in, but you couldn't be denied. But once I got in there, they kept saying it could be MS or the sisters or the cousins, and they wouldn't say what it was. And about, I don't know, after a couple times of me asking, the things that they said were of the things, MS was really like the best option.
Okay.
Uh, so
So they gave you the diagnosis after the spinal tap?
I spent a week. So I spent Easter. I spent the end of March and first part of April of 2024 in the hospital, getting all the MRIs, the spinal taps, and I was receiving, I can't pronounce it. What do you call it?
The Solu-Medrol?
Yes.
Okay.
And they were given, and then I didn't get the results of that until May 1st when I went to meet the neurologist.
Okay.
So from like a little over a month, I didn't know if and my family didn't know, like if I had ALS or
Right.
like we just really didn't know what it was going to be.
Right. But they did give you the Solu-Medrol. Did the Solu-Medrol bring your leg strength back?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
By the time I got off of the IV steroids, it was mostly limited to my right side. So I had some right side paralysis. I still had off and on tingling and sensation from my face down to my toes, but my left side eventually got um, and continues to be, knock on wood, no issues.
Okay.
So Solu-Medrol,
Yeah.
I feel like it saved my left side
Yeah.
and probably half of my right.
Yeah.
Like it
I know that.
and
Yeah, I know that Solu-Medrol I mean, it's my savior. I mean, every episode that I've ever had, sometimes I didn't bounce back 100%, but I've always bounced back with the Solu-Medrol.
yeah, and what was crazy is so when I got out of the hospital, so like and I don't know, maybe that's protocol for everyone. So like that first week I had to take so many pills for 5 days. Then I
Yeah.
had to teeter down so many pills for so I was on steroids for like 5 or 6 weeks,
Right, right.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah, they got to do the
and that
taper.
whole time, but that whole time I felt better every day.
Yeah.
Like I was doing things, I was just like, well, why can't they just give me this shit all the time?
I know it, right?
Well, because I would have a heart attack or all my bones would break or, all of the things. But I'm just like, well, shit, they ought to figure out a way to make this stuff safe because it worked wonders for me.
I know I've always reacted very well to Solu-Medrol, anytime I've ever had it. And I've actually asked my neurologist years ago, why I can't do that. Like come every month or every 6 months or whatever. And he said, yeah, we can't give you that many steroids. But then I recorded an episode with a lady a few episodes back that she found a doctor that treated her with Solu-Medrol. So I don't know. It's crazy. But yeah, I agree with you. I felt great on Solu-Medrol.
Yeah, and those I don't know if it's prednisone packs or whatever the other steroids like they do zero for me.
I don't
Like
get
the
a whole
lower
lot out of
dose
the prednisone.
packs.
Yeah, I don't get a whole lot
Yeah,
out of
it's
the
like
prednisone.
I don't even take it anymore if they suggest it.
So then
I
after they got the inflammation down with the Solu-Medrol, I mean, is that when they actually came in and gave you the official diagnosis that you had MS?
yes, was on May 1st.
Okay.
And we didn't really know a whole lot. My son and my husband, I take that back. Mostly everything that I knew was from decades, from people who suffered with the side effects or symptoms of MS because there wasn't much treatment.
Yeah, right.
Working in long term care, I had taken care of people who had been on permanent catheter, tube
Mhm.
fit, like I saw a
Yeah.
side of MS with no before treatment,
Right.
you know.
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure you've seen people that have been dealing with this disease for 20 years that ended up in a nursing home. Um, but at least
But
at least you had an understanding of what MS was, being that you worked in that field, Melissa.
I think I knew, but to the on a contrary part of that, I think all I saw was like the negative
The bad.
or
Yeah, the
the
bad.
horrible real symptoms. I didn't understand what MS did to make the resident get there.
Yeah.
I just knew that it got him there,
Yeah. You saw the
And
late, yeah, you saw like the late stages or the extreme cases.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes.
So,
And before there was treatment, there wasn't DMTs,
yeah,
you know,
right, right.
and
So,
the instruction was so much different.
yeah,
They didn't advise MS patients 30 or 40 years ago to go out and exercise and stay mobile.
right,
It was quite the opposite.
right, right, right. So
So,
when you got that diagnosis and you like you said you were dealing with a lot of people that were like longer into their journey and all that, and when you wrapped your head around that you now had this disease, how did you like educate yourself about that you can still live your life, and you gotta take it day by day.
I feel like I'm still in the process of that. One because as I'm just now, I don't know, I guess I say acceptance, but I choke as I say that word out loud.
Yeah,
That MS is always going to be changing. that one thing about MS is the unpredictability of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the first few months, I thought like I would beat it, like I'm just so stubborn and I have this, German Irish twist. And if I exercise enough and I do all the right things, I'll just make myself better, like mind over matter kind of a
Yeah.
thing. Which that obviously was not the right approach.
Yeah, but you know what?
So educating myself, yeah.
But sometimes you got to
Go
take
ahead.
that attitude when you get that diagnosis. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to lock yourself up in your house, right? I mean, you got to face it head on and say, okay, it is what it is, and that to me sounds like what you did, Melissa. I mean, you're like, okay, I got MS. I still want to be Melissa.
Yes, yes. And also at the time, like when we heard it, like I had this visual memory, of what I had witnessed or my only life experience or knowledge of MS. But I was also very relieved because of the cousins and the sisters. MS was like, okay, I could deal with this.
Yeah, like
So it was a
you won the
really
lottery on that
twisted,
one.
yeah, it was a really twisted, jaded moment. And up from the time I got out of the hospital until I knew officially, I was very much on the fence of, am I going to go full bore DMT and take advantage of the ammunition to fight it this way?
Mm.
Or am I going to go, all natural and fight it this way? Because I was really uh, on the fence.
Yeah,
Um,
and
the
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
and
all the things that go with pharmaceuticals and all the things that I had seen from people being over medicated or chemical restraints
mhm,
to just the business of medicine,
yeah,
the practicing medicine.
yeah.
So, yeah.
So what kind of decision did you make on your DMT?
I chose Sabri, and I chose that I wanted um, the best or strongest option that I could take. And the majority of my family was on board with that, and some of my family was very much against that. This is a bad idea. You don't know, kind of. This is off topic, but on topic. Like some of the people think that COVID vaccine maybe have caused my
Oh yeah,
MS.
yeah.
Some think that working in nursing home, dealing with the COVID, like,
There's so many theories
yeah,
that could be. I mean, the one thing that I know that in my opinion, I know that to me, stress is one of the biggest factors of bringing out MS. That's what brought it out for me. I was going through a real stressful point in my life. I was going through an engagement and planning a wedding and all that, and that's what kicked it off. And I know that the stress of COVID, I know a lot of people that have got their diagnosis during those COVID years. Whether it was the vaccine or whether it was just, the stress of getting the cold, just getting the COVID, getting that illness and putting your body through that. I don't know. I don't know if we're ever going to know the answers to that. I have no clue on that one, but it's a great discussion point.
yeah, it's kind of wild too because like my husband feels like the stress of working and just working long-term care in general, but when you added the mix of COVID and that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
But the crazy concept for me, and I don't know, this to say it out loud is going to sound really corny. I also have PTSD and have dealt with, well, I should say, I thought I had dealt with that and came to a really comfortable place with managing um, that. But now I lost track of my
That's okay.
where I was going with that.
We were talking about the stress of COVID and going through that diagnosis.
Okay,
Um,
yeah, yes. So it seemed like from as long as I can remember, I have functioned in stress in one form or another, from literally from childhood up.
mhm.
Now, when I say that, I've had very wonderful parts of my life. I have wonderful children, like so.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving forward, COVID stress, just boom, boom, boom. I can function better. I've learned, I get into that hyper vigilant, just boom. For me, it's almost like once I got to a point in my life where I could relax, like COVID had passed
Hmm.
financially. Um, I was in a good, like I'm no debt, like I had hit where
Yeah.
I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And that's when I got sick.
Wow.
Like, how crazy is that? It was like for me when my brain didn't have as much to go
Going in. Yeah.
and say
Yeah. You had less going on, and that's when you started going through your
it fell
symptoms.
apart.
Wow, that's crazy. I mean, you're the first person that I've heard tell it that way. I mean, it's kind of like
Yeah, and I
usually
don't
it's like the
know.
opposite.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's just because my body and brain and soul had just learned to adapt to stress,
Yeah.
that like stress is my normal baseline. And so when I'm not stressed, like I get into some weird conversations, but my whole life, if you look at the train of medication, the train of where I am, like I was probably at one of the most comfortable places emotionally,
Mhm.
financially, everywhere. And bam.
And bam, you get hit. Man, all day.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, Melissa. I mean, you're trying to figure out. You're still trying to figure out MS. How did your family understand it, or are they still trying to figure it out too? Because I know that's a journey in itself, for everybody involved. Whether you have young kids, older kids. I mean, it's a new life for everybody. How did they understand when you got that diagnosis on May 1st?
I think well, I know we're all absolutely still trying to figure it out. And the biggest, well, there's many big obstacles, but the learning how to communicate and choosing your words in a sensitive subject like this that's ongoing,
Mm-hmm.
for me is exhausting. Like if I'm uh, going to a family function or a get together or, you know, having a training session at work or whatever, I could put on my game face and do what I have to do and be mindful of how other people feel or what they think. But with chronic illness, I found like I have waves where I will overdo or try to overcompensate or be over understanding of how my family feels,
Mm-hmm.
and then flip the script the other way and get almost shut off and detached of like, I'm tired of trying to explain it. I'm not a fucking parrot. I don't have colored feathers sticking out of my ass. And really, I don't want to fucking talk about it,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
I know.
And and then I feel bad for feeling that
Yeah, I know. I know exactly what you're talking about,
way.
Melissa. I mean, especially when you're new and you're just starting this journey out and your head's spinning. I mean, I know that because I was there. I was there when I was 27 years old. My head's spinning. I'm trying to figure out what the hell's going on with my body and trying to recover. And I got everybody else around me, they're worried about me. And I appreciated that, but it was like, okay, let me figure this out. I got to figure this out, and I totally understand where you're coming. It's hard. It's hard, but I understand that side of it. I mean, if I was sitting on that side and it was my wife or my daughter or somebody else in my family, my son, and they were being told that they just got diagnosed with MS, I would be. I don't know how I would react to it. I don't know how it would be if I was the one the family member and somebody else had this disease. I don't know how I would react to it.
Well, see, that's been probably a biggest part of my suffrage, or I guess I own, um is like I put myself in that position some of the time. Sometimes I'm not, but then when I think of like, okay, my husband, damn, like, here we were ready in a few years to just be able to take off, go wherever, do whatever, debt free,
Yeah.
not rich, but like,
Yeah.
and now he
Comfortable.
has
Yeah.
now he has a sick wife and we don't know how we're going to navigate whatever. I don't know. See, now, like, I think, like, damn, he's got a lot of weight on him. He's worried about my health. He's worried about my safety. So then, like, especially the onset, like when he didn't want me to take a shower home alone,
Hmm.
I would think, oh, like, I appreciate your concern. Like I gave in or compromised on things because I put his feelings ahead of my feelings,
Yeah. Yeah.
which isn't always a bad thing if you're dealing with a temporary situation,
Right.
but with something we're going to deal with forever. So, like, after month one or two, I was just like, hey, like, I know you don't mean it this way, but do you know how stifling it is and how degrading it is to have to wait for a certain time to take a shower?
Yeah.
It may not be that I want to take a shower at 8 in the morning, but the fact of the matter that I have to stop and think about, no, I can't get in the shower. Like, it changed, and it's a gross. It's really, it doesn't change anything, like whether I get in the shower if somebody's here or not here. But when you're sick and you're home alone and you're thinking about it, you can twist somebody being concerned to resentment
Yeah.
easily when it's ongoing.
Yeah. I understand that, and I think that's part of the thing that the people around us in our circle that they don't understand is that this is with us all day long. Every minute of the day
Right.
we're thinking about this all day long, and we're just looking for support and just we want them to be there for us, but we don't want them to smother us, and it's like a fine line, and it's really really hard to get them to understand that what we need them for, just to support us. But we still want to be our own person. Like, you still want to be Melissa, I
Yeah.
still want to be Brian.
I met a lady you introduced me to her on TikTok. I won't say her name without permission, but
Hmm.
she said will say to me too about sometimes we can be impossible because it's so hard for us to ask for help, but yet we sometimes want our family to be mind readers,
Right.
of like, so trying to own my part in it too, like,
Yeah.
I sometimes I own my own bullshit too much to the point of like, okay, I'm gonna suffer me to appease them to keep the peace.
Right.
But then because of that resentment, there's other times where I go into absolute see you next Tuesday mode,
Yeah.
and I'm busting dishes or cussing or huffing and puffing, and I won't even say why for hours.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even bring the words to tell you why I'm so pissed off because you should fucking know.
Right. Yeah. I know it, Melissa. I mean, this journey is just crazy. I mean,
It is.
and we're just trying to get it. We're trying to understand it ourselves, and we're trying to get other people to understand it.
Right. And laughing about it like that's something with MSers we can do together and we don't give it a second thought.
We do it all the
But
time.
so
Yeah, we were talking about that a little bit earlier. I mean, I grew. I lived my last 27 years trying to make it a comedy routine. I mean, I would be on the way down falling, and I'd be telling my kids or my wife, hey, just make sure I'm okay, and they would actually grade me on my falls. My daughter would be like, "Oh, that was a 9." My son, that was a 9.5. You got to have fun with it.
see, and my guys aren't there yet,
Yeah.
and of course now we kind of talked about too of like your age when you get diagnosed. My boys never knew or saw a sick mama
Right.
in that sense,
Right.
physical impairments.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah,
And yeah. And now you got
they're like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course I am. Here we go."
yeah. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah. And just get me up. Make
Yeah,
sure
or
make sure I'm
cog
all right.
fog.
Yeah.
Like I've come to laugh at cog fog, and that was like when I get stuck, or it's like, okay, I tell myself, focus, 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 because sometimes just that distraction will make it pop back into my brain.
Y-
But
y-
my husband or my kids, they're just like, "Are you okay?" Or they make it. it is serious, but they don't find the humor in it like I do, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, here's a funny thing that I do was when I do something stupid like cognitive, I walk into a room for something and I forget, I'll sit there and I'll cuss myself out. I'll be like, "You stupid you dumbass motherfucker," blah blah blah, and my wife be like, "Well, who are you yelling at?" I'll be like, "Me." She thinks I'm crazy, and I'm just like, "No, that's just my way of." Making it funny that my cognitive is being affected by the MS.
Yes, coming back around and like full circle
Yeah.
and the stuck on words. And sometimes I wonder too, like, how do you know if that's like a side effect of a medication, if it's the MS?
Well,
You know,
I
I'm learning more with some things, but when you're first diagnosed, you don't know what is up from down, or I didn't.
no,
I still don't at the
no,
time.
I didn't know up from down either, and I still learn every day. I mean, every time I record with somebody, I learn something new because it's, my journey's different than yours, and what happened with you. I mean, I got a lot of vision problems, so that's one of my number one nemesis with my MS is my vision. I see double vision and all that, but I learn what it's like living with MS from other people because it's different for everybody. It's different for you. And that's the thing that, I think everybody just wants us to understand, we don't have a cut and dry path that we're going down. We all have to figure it out. There's going to be little bumps and detours along the way, but we hope that our family and our circle is around us and just supporting us, whatever path we're taking.
Yeah, that's the best and most we can hope for. I don't know. It's a bizarre, or it's like being sometimes in a nightmare. Sometimes I've had some really beautiful moments with some people that I haven't even met in person,
Hmm.
uh, and
And
that's
that's
kind of wild to think about, like some of the bonds and things that I've shared with people that I
and that,
would have never dreamed I would. Yeah.
and that's the
See,
community.
there's a few good.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and that's the community that me and you are both in on TikTok. I mean, and with Facebook with the rebels, and I think that's where we learn a lot. We learn a lot from each other. Other people going through this disease, how they handle certain things, because we all handle things differently. And if we can just feed off of each other, I think it's a great thing.
Yes, and the for the validation, like when I share something and like you or uh, I don't want to
Johnny.
say I'm almost gonna yeah, I'm almost gonna like Debbie, Mama Cat, like
Yeah,
all the especially the ladies have been amazing. I mean, uh, to hear several people say we get it and we know what that feels like or
yeah,
understand exactly what you're saying
man,
is so validating and priceless when you're scrambling of like, am I crazy for feeling this way? Or am I guilty for feeling this way? Or,
yeah.
like I give myself permission to feel however I want. But there's also sometimes I put myself in situations where when I feel a certain way, then I'm like, okay, how do I stop feeling? How do I make it right?
Right.
And it might be jumping somebody's ass or it might be jumping my ass and like, hey, Melissa, you need to step up or you need to knock this off or
Yeah.
however it is.
Yep. I I know that I didn't even know that the community even existed. I mean, I pretty much went through my 26 out of my 27 years on my own, and when I found that community, with the rebels and on TikTok with Debbie and Trina and Johnny and everybody that I've met on TikTok. It is so mentally uplifting just talking to people that understand what we're going through.
Yeah,
And I mean,
yes. I
and it,
don't know how you did it without that support, without that piece of it. I
you know,
mean, I obviously you did it because you didn't have a fucking, like
you know,
there wasn't another way, but
work took my mind off of my MS. I used working as my tool. Like, okay, I got MS, and I'm just going to ride being able to work out as long as I can. And then once I lost that ability to work, that's when I found TikTok and Facebook. And that's when I started doing this podcast thing because I'm just like, I was blown away at the people that I met on TikTok, and I'm like, we need to be heard. We need to have our stories heard, and I just want people to know that we got Swab over in England, that has MS that lost his ability to talk, and he can't do a podcast episode with me because he can't communicate. But I want people to understand that there are people with MS that are living like that and understand that this disease is a world disease, it's a world problem, and we're just trying to be understood.
For sure. Absolutely. And for people who aren't sick to understand and as well to be a beacon of light, like I'm so grateful for all the people diagnosed before me that shared and laid the groundwork and um had a spot for me to be, you know? Like that matters. That matters. So like what we're doing right now and what you do, as a part of your everyday, you know, perhaps in 20 years or 30 years, that's going to be so monumental historical documentation of our journeys and what it was like to live with MS now and before.
Yeah, just to be
But
understood.
people will know that, yes, that we're not alone and that we're many.
Yeah.
There's so many of us, like you say, MS is not prejudice.
Nope.
It doesn't matter what color you are, it doesn't matter what race you are, it doesn't matter what age you are. Like,
Nope.
it's going to hit you.
Nope. It doesn't care. It doesn't care what religion you follow. It doesn't care
No,
what political views you have. MS doesn't give two shits about any of that. And
no,
that's why I tell we just got to put everything beside on the side and just come together. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where we're at. We just got to come together and just spread awareness about what it's like living with this disease.
yes, yes. There's another well, a mutual friend of ours, Adam. He when I saw well, one of his first podcasts or YouTube, I think was it from Baker. I don't know, but
Baker
he was another
College.
one
Yep.
that he 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 inspires me because he doesn't let anybody define him or write his story. He's another badass motherfucker, and I'm gonna say it because he is.
Mm,
That just showed me of like you can live with MS. We can live.
yep.
We don't have to sit down and rest all the time because somebody thinks we should. We don't have to um stay home because we might be out in 85 degrees or 90 degrees for a show.
Yep.
We can choose to go to that show and know we're going to prepare,
Yeah.
however we may have to modify and adapt
Yep.
of
I always say the
figuring it out.
MSers figure shit out. We always figure shit
Yeah,
out.
yes,
You know,
but if you're suffering with MS and you don't see people figuring it out, it's so much scarier.
yeah.
When I started seeing people li- living with MS, figuring it out, having fun, playing video games, going to concerts, eating what they want, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
okay, like
Yeah.
um,
Just
these are the
because
people I want to be with.
you get this diagnosis does not mean your life is over. You can still have an awesome, awesome life. You just got to figure it out. You might have to make
Yeah,
modifications to how you do things, but you can still do things.
yes, and hopefully with podcasts like this, there'll be a time where we won't have to figure it out as much, and for sure, I pray that we won't have to explain as much. That
Mm,
people will just know,
yeah.
you
Amen.
know,
Amen.
um,
Beautifully
that
said.
matters so much.
Yeah, that's beautifully said, Melissa. I couldn't have said that any better. Hopefully someday we do get to that point.
Yes,
Hey,
yes, yeah.
no, go ahead.
I just really hope that, I want to I want to be a part of that in some small, minuscule, however kind of a way.
You are.
So, like moving forward, the people coming on, will I want to leave people better than when I came,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like how when you came. And I think that's so important and just monumental what you're doing here with that. Of like,
I appreciate
it's
that.
okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to share it because that's the only way everyone's going to know where it's going to be common conversation. You know, if you bring up Tourette's, people know exactly. If you bring up epilepsy, people know exactly. Maybe not to the T, but
Right.
there's a level of compassion and understanding that goes with many diagnoses. And
Mm.
I'm not trying to make light or judge or compare any diagnosis. I'm
Sure.
just saying
Sure.
even like with me working in a nursing home for decades, my my knowledge bank when it comes to MS was very jaded and it shouldn't be.
No.
As many as of us that there are, we should have that knowledge. So and at first I didn't think that. I wanted to be just really hush hush.
Yeah.
So and pissed off. So
Yeah.
you guys are teaching me, like when you get angry when somebody asks you about this or that, use that as an opportunity,
Right.
turn the anger to opportunity. So I'm working on that.
Yeah. No, Melissa, I love everything that you're about. I mean, you're so new to this disease and you just want to absorb as much information as you can. And I think that is so important because I mean, I didn't have these tools that, back in 1997, there was no podcasting and there was no internet really. And I couldn't, it was just me. And there's so many tools out there now to just help you get through and help you manage this chronic disease that you get stuck with just by talking to people
Absolutely.
that have experienced this for so long. I wish that I was able to talk to somebody that had 20 years of experience with MS back in 1997. I would have loved to have talked to somebody, but they just weren't around. So I mean, take advantage
No,
of people that have been through it.
and it's nothing short of miraculous from someone with MS to listen and to be a part of that. Like I never knew how important sharing our stories were going to be for me as well as the people I care about.
Yeah. I know. I think that what you're doing, Melissa, recording with me, like I said, so early into your diagnosis, I think that's huge. I think that people need to hear somebody that just went through this a year ago. The fear and that you're going to be okay. Because you're realizing that so early in this journey, and that's just so awesome that you're this far already. I mean, you know you're going to be okay. You're going to have to figure things out along the way, but you know you're going to be okay.
That's right. And a big part of why I know I'm going to be okay is because of the community and the people that remind me daily that I'm going to be okay.
Yeah. Melissa, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. Is there anything that you want to say to anybody that's out there listening that's in a similar situation for you before I start wrapping it up? And again, I just want to thank you so much for coming on today.
Well, thank you for having this forum and platform. You know my anxiety, and it's taken me a hot minute to be on here because I don't plan things. I had to wait for a willy nilly moment.
Hmm.
Um, the biggest thing that I would say to somebody in well, there's a few things. Is one, don't let anybody define you.
Hmm.
And when I got outside of my own head, I started looking at the people in my community that were doing it the way I wanted to. Like there's a lot of successful people who are figuring it out,
Hmm.
but I started really focusing in on who's figuring it out the way that works for me, that I could resonate with the most.
Hmm.
And I started following those people and learning from those people, and that has helped catapult me further than anything else.
Love it, Melissa. I love it. Again, I want to thank you so much for coming on, Melissa. I really appreciate everything that you shared with me today. And I know it's going to help people, especially early on in this disease. And again, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the like, and share it out. We want to be understood. We want to be heard. And this is the best way that I've come up with that it kind of explains what it's like living with MS. Do not forget to, you can follow me on Instagram, MS Michigan Man 64. You can also find me on TikTok, MS Michigan Man 64, and Facebook, Brian Wallace out of Brunswick, Ohio. Till the next episode, MS Michigan Man 64, I am out.